Hey, what's going on, guys? This is your boy C Will back to you with another video. Super excited today. If this is your first time here, welcome. Here we do everything tech, all things tech. Whatever it is, we like to do it. And man, if you're a returning viewer, I appreciate you the most because you keep everything going. So man, we got a follow-up video of our build. Yep, we did the Knight Rider 2.0 build, as you can see in the back. If you haven't had a chance to take a look at that video, I did a time-lapse video, so you could hit one of the cards up at the top left or right-hand corner. So if you haven't already, definitely follow me on all forms of social media. That's going to be Instagram, Twitter, and also Facebook. And don't forget, hit the actual link to the Discord below. Man, we're growing our community, and super excited about that. Oh, don't forget to hit like, hit subscribe, and hit the bell so you receive all the notifications for all of my future content. Let's get into this video. So the first thing up that we have is actually building into the NZXT H510 Elite. Man, it's a super easy case. I actually love this particular case. I love it because it's compact. Not only that is that NZXT makes it real easy as far as like the cable management, the compartments, and all the good stuff. They make it real easy to build into these cases, so I definitely love that. One of the things I love about the actual case is that it comes with the two 140 millimeter fans on the front. That's RGB. That's adjustable RGB, so you can change the colors, you can change the patterns, and all that good stuff. So some of the things that I had to do on this particular build that was a little bit different is one, I definitely had to put the radiator on the front. So putting the radiator on the front, the Kraken X62, it's a 280 millimeter radiator. It comes with two 140 millimeter fans to go on it. I actually use the air RGB intake fans that's on the front and attach those to the radiator. And so as air is being pulled into the actual side vent on the case, that air is flowing through the radiator. And yes, you could guess that one of the downsides about using the X62 is that the radiator, it has to go on the front and the inside, which means that all of the heat is blowing into the case. And the reason why I had to set it up like this is because I couldn't put fans on the inside of the actual radiator to blow air out through the side vent. Is because I wanted some intake air to come into the case. I also couldn't do it because of the graphics card that I have. I couldn't put the fans on the other side of the radiator because of the graphics card, which is pretty long. It was just right, as far as the amount of space needed. And that's the MSI Gaming X Trio 2080 Super. Absolutely love that card. Super silent. It's great on temps and all that good stuff. But because of the card being so long, I couldn't put the actual other fans on the other side of the radiator to push air out. So that means that all of the heat that's coming from the CPU is going back into the case. Now, for the most part, that's a no-no. For most people, they probably don't want to do that because they're going to be overclocking and their CPU and stuff like that, which I did overclock the 3900X, and we'll get a little bit into that a little bit later on. My temperatures actually turned out pretty good. It's not the best, but it still turned out pretty good for the things that I wanted to do: gaming, video editing, overclocking and stuff like that. And so the temp still came out good. That's one of the downsides of using actual all-in-one cooler with this system. Anything like a 240 millimeter or 280 millimeter cooler, you have to put the actual radiator on the inside on the front because that's the only space that it could be able to fit. We have an exhaust fan on the back, 120 millimeter, exhaust fan on the top, 120 millimeter, but you can also fit 140 millimeter exhaust fan on the top if you wanted to. So a couple of changes that I made since the build was definitely I switched the 16 gig kit of the G.Skill Trident Z Neo RGB. I switched the 16 gig out for a 32 gig kit. Gotta have 32 gigs. I do video editing. I also picked up the 2 terabyte 7200 RPM Seagate hard drive that I use for all of my game installs, but I'm quickly going to get that switched over to an NVMe drive. This works. It was only 50 bucks. I think this was like 160 bucks. Of course, I picked up all my stuff from Micro Center. But yeah, made a couple of changes since we did the build. And I'm going to end up actually getting a 1 terabyte PCIe 4.0 drive, and I'm going to get a 2 terabyte PCIe 4.0 drive. 2 terabytes is going to be for gaming, and then the 1 terabyte is definitely going to be for my OS. Right now I have the 500 gigabyte 970 Evo. I am going to get an external enclosure for the 500 gigabyte, and I'm going to just use that as a high-speed external hard drive. Really, I'll probably end up using it as a scratch disk for some of my video editing work and stuff like that. or I may get one of those actual PCIe cards that you can put M.2 cards onto it for storage. I'm not sure just 100% yet because this is not going to be my permanent case. Stay tuned for that. So that's, you know, some of the things that I had to go through in terms of installing, you know, and using the actual NZXT 510 Elite, H510 Elite. Again, one of the probably the biggest downsides to this case is that if you want to use an AIO, whether it's a 240 millimeter or a 280 millimeter AIO, you have to put the radiator on the front. So for temps, a couple of things that we're going to look at. One, we are going to look at a couple of benchmarks. We're going to look at Cinebench R20 as far as temps for stock and overclock settings. And then we also are going to look at gameplay so you can see and get a feel for what gameplay is going to be like. Stay tuned. So currently right now, the first set of things that we're going to take a look at is temperatures. And right now we have Cinebench R20 that's up. I have a CPU ID hardware monitor that's up. We'll be monitoring the utilization, the core clock, power consumption. Let's see, we got the temps. Also we have the same temps that's going to be listed right here, and also the V-core. So just FYI, right now we are in overclock. I have the actual 3900X, 12 cores, 24 threads, overclocked to a 4.325 gigahertz. It's actually 4.325 on all cores. I am at 1.3 volts, and my idle temps right now, it bounces around. Like right now it's at 49 degrees. My computer has been running for a while. I do not have the air on in, you know, my room. So right now this is just a normal day without air. It's pretty cold outside. Room gets a little toasty. I've been playing games, stuff like that, but right now I do not have the air on, and CPU is at, you know, between 49 50 degrees, and that is pretty much normal. One thing I want to do right here, I actually want to change, and this is the NZXT cam software, so I actually want to change the tuning from silent to performance, but I want my pump to be fixed, which is, it's going to be at its highest RPM, which is 2700. And let's see here. So 48 degrees, GPU is at 55, liquid is at 34. And yeah, let's go ahead and take a look at some Cinebench scores. And then again, this is why it is overclocked. And then we'll take a look at what it's like with everything being at stock. Okay, one of the things to look at too, it gets up to around about 170 watts. So that is actually great for 12 cores, 24 threads, all overclocked. And then our Cinebench score was 7,118. The highest that I've gotten was 7,004. It was actually 7473. And so that is actually pretty good. We have, you know, OBS running in the background. We got some other things, other programs that's running. So there's that. So a little bit over 7118. Like I said, without all the other programs running, I got up to 7473. So that's with it being overclocked. As you can see, also the max temp, let's see here. So the max temp we got up to was 84 degrees Celsius. So that's what I've been maxing out at. Anytime I'm doing video editing where all of the cores are at 100%, the max temp is between 84 85 degrees, which, like I said, is not terrible, especially with it being overclocked. But if I probably had a different case, which I do, that I'm actually going to rebuild night riding in, I have the Land Cool 2 Lee case that we're going to test out some stuff as well. But if I had the actual heat from the radiator being exhausted, instead of it going back into the case and then being exhausted by the 220 millimeter fans that I have, then we will probably see a different, you know, max temp. It probably should be lower, to be exact. So that, again, that's one of the things we're building into the NZXT H510 Elite case. So what we're going to do here is we're actually going to I'm going to hit F5, and that's going to load the optimized default settings. I'm going to click OK, and I'm going to hit F10 to restart. And this is going to change everything back to pretty much factory settings, like I was, just getting this set up. The only thing that I'm actually going to change is the memory. So if we go here, if we actually change this to DOCP standard, and actually what this does, it changes the memory frequency to the specs that's on the actual box of the memory itself. So the cache latency was 16-19-19-39, changes the actual memory frequency to 3600, and that's the only thing that we're changing. Also, I'm actually going to change one more other thing here. So if I go back to Extreme Tweaker, I am going to turn on Precision Overboost. So Precision Boost Overdrive. So this is on auto. I just want to make sure that that was on. F10. This is just confirming that we're changing the memory over, and the cache latency and all this stuff. That's the only thing that's being changed here. We're going to click OK. Okay, so now we have restarted the computer, and I just want to show you here, and also here. You can see this bouncing around. Nothing, everything is on auto right now as far as the precision boost. And as you can see on certain cores, that actually gets up to 4.591 megahertz. So, it's boosting. It's at stock settings. No overclock. We actually have the V core is set on auto. It's bouncing around. The highest it hit is 1.464. But as you can see, this is actually going to drop down as soon as we test out cinebench. So let's go ahead and test this out. Temperature is like 53, so it's a little bit higher, and that's just because the voltage is jumping up higher. But the temperature should go down once this starts. It should be at a lower temp once we finish out the actual cinebench run. And as you can see, as far as the actual boost clock, the highest is going up to is 4.042. The temp looks like it's maxing out around about 75, but we'll be able to tell over here. The voltage, so the V core is at 1.264. Okay, so one of the things that I want to test right now is actually playing Call of Duty. I've noticed something when playing at stock settings on the CPU without it being overclocked. The actual, the boost clock only, it maxes out around about 4.3 gigahertz. So with me being overclocked to 4.325 gigahertz, it'd be interesting to see what's the difference in between the frames per second that we get. So if you look at the top left-hand corner here, it says CPU 60 degrees, 20%, 4.325 megahertz. GPU is at 54 degrees. So on the campaign mode, and the reason being is because we could do certain scenes in campaign mode, and this is pretty much the same every time we start. Okay, so I'm gonna hit escape here. We're gonna go through some of the options. Graphics settings right now, we're on full screen. We're playing on the 1440p Asus PG279Q, 165 Hertz for the refresh rate. Everything else should be on high. Yep, high. Enable all, extra, everything should be at the maximum settings. I do have ray tracing off for this particular test, but everything else is on the highest settings. It will pretty much go. All right, so just want to make sure that we was going over that. And so right now, as we're walking through the woods, we're pretty much around, and again, this is at 1440p resolution on the 2080 Super RTX, that's the MSI. So we're at 103, 105, 110, 111. And our GPU temp is at 69. Our CPU temp is at 56, around about 28, 30% usage. All right, and so that's what we're looking at. I mean, again, we're overclocked right now, so all cores are at 4.325 gigahertz. And we'll definitely take a look and see what the stock settings look like. Okay, so we are back with the, we are at stock settings. Let's go ahead and click on campaign. So as you can see, the actual CPU is jumping. So the frequency is jumping. It's bouncing 425, 4300. When I had it overclocked, I was at 4325. And it looks like our frame rate is going between 108 to 116, 115, 119. You can let me know if you see the difference or a huge difference. And to be honest with you, I'm not seeing a huge difference. So it looks like pretty much you may be able to just, actually have this, you know, because we're still at 100 plus, it's at 1440p ultra settings. We haven't changed anything. We left all of the graphical settings the way it was in this particular scene. It looks very similar. So there may not be an advantage to overclocking to, you know, 4.325 on all cores. If we could probably change out our case, change around the way that we have the cooling, we may be able to get a higher frequency. But for right now, I think I'm just gonna leave it on auto with precision boost. So hey, thank you for watching the video all the way through. As you can see, you've seen what it's like for building into the NZXT H510 Elite. You've seen what the temps are, what the benchmarks looks like, the actual performance that you get, and all that good stuff. So if you would like to see more tech stuff like this, don't forget to hit like, hit subscribe, and hit the bell so you receive all my notifications. And also don't forget to hit the link in the description below for our Discord, the invite link. Anybody can join, anybody can come in. We talk about great tech stuff. You'll also see links in the description below from Amazon. Those are affiliate links. Anybody who clicks on those Amazon links, there's no additional charges to you. It just helps out the channel. So I appreciate you. I appreciate those who have definitely used those links. They are all the parts to the actual build that we did in the description below. So thank you for everything, and I'll see you all in the next video.